Welcome to the Walkie-Talkies by Michelle Baharier. Part 9, London Bus Stories, recorded in 2021 in the time of COVID.
All customers must be seated and if possible using a window seat. Please maintain social distancing using all available space. Thank you. The bus has reached its safe limit. For everyone's safety, the driver has been instructed not to continue if there are too many people on board. You must wear a face covering at all times when using public transport, unless you are exempt. Police and TfL officers patrol the transport network to enforce this. Seats are available on the upper deck. Please move upstairs.
The drivers don't speak to people. They have that shield there, so I said maybe they caught it in the bus garage or somewhere. They think it's a passenger, but the drivers don't mix with the passengers. So how? Because they got that shield next to them there, they have that shield there, so they don't mix with the passenger. So how they blaming the passenger? The passenger probably pick it up in the garage or somewhere, wherever they get, there. But they don't mix with the passenger. You just touch your card and you go in. They don't mix with them, so. Yeah, lots of them died. It's a shame, though. It's a shame, the drivers.
If they didn't, they say now, open the windows. So whenever I get on the bus, I open the windows, because a lot of people don't, and I think that's important.
No, I haven't been on any bus. I haven't gone out much. I have only used the train, but maybe no more than 5 times. So it's just because of something.
The new ones are really hot because they're just over the engine, I think. The downstairs back seats in the Routemaster, I don't like them. They're not very comfortable seats, so I don't tend to sit in them. If I get my ideal seat in one of the newer buses, it'll be where the 4 seats are together. That's one spot I quite like, especially in COVID at the moment. You get one spot to yourself and you're nice and isolated from everybody, usually. But yeah, the back seat upstairs it doesn't seem as cosy in the newer buses as it did in the old ones.
I'm sure you remember the free buses, they used to call them, where you just get on them. A lot of people didn't pay their fare. Well, now that's stopped. There's only one entrance now. The bus number 12 was good for that. But it allowed people just to get on and whatever. But that doesn't happen anymore. And because of the pandemic, a lot of people have lost their jobs, lost their lives. It's the first time in their lives they've been unemployed. So, it's really hard for a lot of folk.
I don't think I would feel very comfortable on a bus apart from one point is disabilities, and the other one would be keeping the distance, and then that would add a bit more anxiety, because if I see that there is not much space for me, then I would feel that I'd rather not get the bus. So I think it has made it a bit more complex.
Since COVID, the cabin of the bus driver is being sealed off with plastic, so they don't get any virus. If someone gets in with a virus, it's more difficult for them to get contaminated. But then working in a hospital, when we go to work, we clean after each other, and we clean the first thing before we start working. We clean all the stations, the nurse station, the computers, the keyboards, the chairs, everything that has been touched before. And what I notice on the buses is when the drivers get changed, the shifts, they don't clean after each other. Is what I see as a customer when I've been on those buses, the ones I've been on.
But they're secured in their coffins now, aren't they? In terms of the little bots, they can't come out of it. And I've seen some people, when the other driver comes off and they change over shifts, they could give it a good clean, which I think is very good. Because at the early stages when the pandemic was announced, quite a few bus drivers died. That isn't happening anymore because they're taking extra special precautions. Like people, I can imagine the shifts must be really hard, you know.
I've done my training in Chiswick. We used to have a skid ramp, you know. What you would do, you'd go up the top speed and brake on the water, and you'd skid, you know. I loved it. I couldn't get enough of that. It's actually what it done was it taught you how. Actually, it's called cadence braking. It means you touch the brakes off on type of pumping action, and it keeps you straight. The way you skid is when the brakes lock on, you actually go sideways, you know, and they cause more damage by going sideways than going straight, you know. So
that sounds quite a scary experience.
Yeah, but actually it's more in case in the winter when there's ice and snow on the ground, you have to actually be very cautious, you know, when you brake, because you don't want to park cars on the other side of the street, get in the way, you know. I used to, when I was going down Bayswater Road in the winter, the gutters used to be flooded, and I used to hydrofoil right into the puddles, and the waves going over the bank, you know.
Well, it was some person, I think, from London Transport had been down to Barbados, and you know, probably had a word with the Labour Minister of something like that, and that was because you remember a man called let me see if I can think of his name, but he was the one that kind of introduced this thing, recruiting people from Barbados. But since then, years after, long time after, he was the same person that wanted to send all the black people back to whatever country they come from. But I can't remember, I don't remember what his name was.
Was it Enoch Powell?
Was it who?
Enoch Powell.
Yeah, that's his guy. He was a lot to do with them recruiting staff from Barbados. Because, you know, you might not have known, but Barbados is also known as Little England.
Well, I don't take the bus now because there's nowhere to go. I mean, I'm working from home. And yeah, I just don't have any real reason to take the bus because everything's closed. If things were open, I probably, in truth, would still avoid taking the bus. I just literally would take it. I took it the one time because my children were too tired to walk back. We'd been out on a long walk to a nature reserve, and like they played and run around like crazy. And then the idea, I was getting near to dinner time, and it was just like the idea of walking all the way home just seemed daunting. So it just seemed easy just to hop on the bus, and it was like almost entirely empty, and it felt perfectly safe. And yeah, it was nice to be on the bus again. Although we didn't venture to the top because it was only a short ride.
The special moment is when you've been waiting for an awful long time for the bus, and you've got your shopping, and you want to get on that bus. You want to get on that bus. Something happened last week. It was Mother's Day, and it was such a lot of traffic. But Mother's Day is always the busiest. And here I am waiting for a bus, and I'm actually probably one of the first there in the queue. But there's no queue now. That's the other thing. People just stand anywhere and they just get on. And the bus driver wouldn't even allow anyone on. And yet there was space in the bus. So she had the power. And this guy said, I'm not getting off. And he stayed on. He took my space, but he got on. And there was a seat, obviously. And I said, well, can I have a seat? She said, no, I haven't got. I said, okay, so you've got the power. And some of them do have the power, but there's no flexibility. I said, it's Mother's Day, for God's sake. Fortunately, another bus came 25 minutes later. But some of the bus drivers are just not. They're just not. They're not kind. I don't know if it makes them hard. I'm not saying it's a brilliant job, but I think that they could make their jobs a whole lot easier if they avoided conflict. Because now, people on edge, you've got to be really careful how you talk to people, because they're just that close. They haven't been going out, and if they are going out, they probably haven't got any money or whatever the circumstance. So just have to give them a time of day.
All customers must be seated, and if possible, using a window seat.
Experience.
Please maintain social distancing, using all available space. Thank you. The bus has reached its safe limit. For everyone's safety, the driver has been instructed not to continue if there are too many people on board. You must wear a face covering at all times when using public transport, unless you are exempt. Police and TfL officers patrol the transport network to enforce this. Seats are available on the upper deck. Please move upstairs.
The Walkie-Talkies project by Michelle Baharier is supported by Arts Council England National Lottery funding. Michelle Baharier wishes to thank Alex Zidane, Jennifer Fletcher, Kathy Waller, Disability Arts Online, and many others for their support to make the Walkie-Talkies.